Why hello there friends, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. This video is brought to you by a questionable burrito I had for breakfast. More on that later. Today we're going to be adding life to this crawler table that my engineer of a dad helped me build this weekend. And I give him credit in such a way because I thought this would take a lot more work. But $130 of materials and we have a table that will support 800 pounds worth of obstacles. Now while that is enough to hold these two 60-pound bags of sand for a base layer, I don't think we can get large rocks all the way around. So we're going to be building some obstacles. And for that, we're going to need ourselves some wood. So let's head out and see what we can find. Now that we have these all collected up, I can show you the thought process. If we take these two big thick boys right here and raise them up about 6 to 8 inches to create a set of uneven bars that's elevated, it'll give us a lot of room for activities underneath while still creating a very fun and lengthy obstacle. So let's get to cutting these down to size, and the smaller ones back here will be used to create ladders to get up on either side. Now that our two main big boys there are cut down to size, we need to focus on what's going to hold them in the air. And these are the two next thickest sticks I have. This one does seem viable, but I think it'd be in my best interest to go out and find a couple more that are around this diameter, just so that we can actually screw into it. So back out I go. Ourselves B-friend on that last log run. He looks like he's having a fantastic day. I've got these all marked up for about how high I want them, going a little over towards a foot tall. I think that'll give us plenty of clearance underneath. And now back to sawing. With all 4 of our legs cut to size now, we can get to marking the table for where we're going to need to drill them in from the bottom. And our first step there is going to be to get these in the positions that we want them to rest in. I have 2 main track widths of vehicles, and the stock SCX-24 fits perfectly on this really narrow band, but with the upgrades, the rock buggy does not. So finding a middle ground where we can have some challenge for both wheelbases, I think, is going to be our main priority here. Alright, we've got one all laid out. So let's go ahead and give this pilot hole a quick drilling. And now we can get our first screw started in here. Now hopefully that is at the right angle. Well, that's one done. 3 left. It might not have been the smartest way to get things done, but we have ourselves 2 legs ready to rock. I think this is coming together pretty dang nice. Next, let's put a pilot hole right through here, when I'm not holding it, of course. And one more right in the center of this. Boom, we're ready to mount it. I think that should do it. Now I didn't realize this one's going to be a little more difficult because I did not flatten off this end. But I'm all for making an easy job harder, so let's send it. that went better than expected. Damn. I'm not going to subject you all to watching the other side get built, but I am still in shock at how well that came together. So, boom! The start of the crawling table is looking pretty fantastic. It's definitely going to be a little bit more difficult for the stock SCX24, and then if we need more difficulty for the fully built ones, I can turn these slightly, giving this a little more width in the middle. Let's go ahead and start working on chopping those guys up. We need to make a ladder here, a ladder there, and then I want to take all this sand and fill out the bottom. Here's the thought process on the ladder. Of course, they're going to be a little closer together. I'm thinking we double the amount of small sticks in here, just so there's really good traction all the way up, and that'll allow us to tilt it at a much more aggressive angle. This is shaping up quite nicely. These two pieces are going to come together like that, and I've checked the angles. I wonder if this will stay. I've checked the angles here just to make sure that even at the steepest part we aren't going over 50 degrees, which is where I know the rock buggy starts to tip over backwards. I think having the steps in there is going to kind of negate that backwards flipping over, but we'll see. I could be completely wrong, and actually now that I'm thinking about it, I probably am. Well, the screw's definitely a little bigger than I thought, but that's gonna work. Well, the first set of legs is locked in place and the entire thing is rock solid. Let's get to installing some of these stairs. I was going to use nails for all of these, but one nail in and I already feel guilty for the neighbors, so back to screws. There we have it. It might not be the prettiest, but it is something that I made myself, and I am very proud of that. I've checked the angles. I had to put a couple of blocks up underneath this just to make it a little more doable. The angles on the bar were also a little bit too steep and kept rolling this way, obviously. So I just chopped a little bit off of here, which lowered this bar down, and now it is perfect. I've made sure everything is drivable. Now I want to work on the exit. And my thought process here is, what if we did a drop down to a longer drop down? And then you would drop onto the ground, which presumably will be coming up about a ½ inch once we get this in here. I'm gonna think on that while I go deal with the problematic burrito from this morning.
A very, very long time later.
Burrito problem is dealt with, and I've had an idea. Looking at this, I think if we made a little down ramp right about there. So there's an initial drop down you're gonna have to work over the edge to get to, and then you just kind of cruise down the log. I think that's gonna save us some space and give us a possibility of vehicles being able to go up on this side. So that's what I'm gonna do. We'll start by putting some holes in there, screwing that in, and then this one will need to be cut to size. The stock 24 looks like it can make it down that. That's going to be our testing ground. It still is going to be an incredibly difficult drop. I think the entire thing overall is going to be pretty difficult, which is what I was going for. We need to put these two little stumps under there once they're cut to size. And then I would say that is pretty much complete, and we can move on to filling up the base with our sand and rocks. All right, now the fun part. I'm going to start emptying these out. Well, there we have it. With the addition of some lava rock to give us some lightweight coverage to get up to that first ladder rung, I would say our RC rock crawling haven is pretty well complete for the time being. Of course, there's going to be a lot more obstacles added in, and I will keep you all updated as to what those are going to be and build processes, but for now, why don't we get into some crawling? Now, first things first, let's see if the stock Jeep-bodied SCX can get up here. It is the perfect size, and these lava rocks have a ton of traction. I am liking them a lot. They're very light, so they move underneath the wheels. Alright, now here's going to be the difficult part. It looks like we might make the turn, but those tires have nothing. Alright, let's give it a little more right here. There's a little grab right there. Just for half a second it grabs. Whoa! I don't think we're going to be making it up here on these tiny little stock tires. Let's try it with a bit of run-up. Yep. Alright, on to the rock buggy. Now the goal was to be challenging with this fully built body, so I'm hoping that it is. Looks like we're just going to crawl right up here into a 3-point turn. And, you know, we may need some more steering angle on this thing. Wow. The servo just moved the whole back half of the vehicle. That was interesting. Alright, here we go. One more turn. I'm going to try and grab that bark on the right there. Boom. Alright, so we're running into the same problem, but we can easily get these wheels up and over. Oh, that's nice. Okay. That is super nice. Now I put those two sticks on the right with those big, heavy, outlying branches so that we could grip right like that, just like that. And now we need to line up for the top obstacle, which is going to be the most insane difficult part. Keeping those back wheels. Okay. Oh man, let me move the camera so we have a better angle. I'm really hoping those back wheels aren't going to drag us down here, but I have a feeling... Ooh, they are just barely on. I don't think we're gonna make it. Oh! Well, we're dragging on the back axle, and it looks like we're going down. I don't think we're getting ourselves out of that. Alright, well, we did exactly what I wanted to do, and that was to make something that would be challenging to myself and to the vehicle. Let's give it one more run here. So I've got it lined up a bit better, more to the left this time, so hopefully that back end won't be our downfall. Ooh, okay. Now that's not good. We need that left wheel to be 100% on the beam. Okay. That's looking good. Oh man. Back wheels dragging a bit to the left again. Alright, so what I'm learning here is that we might need to put one final beam right here, just so you can really lock in and get onto these two comfortably before you walk it over. I am going to just set us on here. Let's see if we can crawl her across like that. That right front tire is touching basically nothing. It's a big tilt. The back wheels are going. We gotta get back. The back's going. No. No. back up we go. So we need to keep it to the left once we get up towards the top. Oh, wow. It's struggling with the lava rocks. I like that. They're not heavy enough to provide a super solid anchor point for the tires to dig into, so they kind of shift below the vehicle. Alright, hard left. And then just straight on up. Wow. Wow, that's fun. Okay. Now, the back is more to the left, so this is a problem here. I don't have enough steering servo torque to get us lined up the way we need to be. And that's definitely going to be an upgrade coming here in the future, right? Let's see. Don't drop the left. Now here's the crucial part. Nope, we already dumped it. Alright, so we do need to put a bar in between those two, but I think overall, we did pretty dang good.
3 days later.
Alright, after many revisions and trial and error for days on end, I think we finally have a course that can be conquered twice in a row without using sheer luck. I've had to add this safety bar right here, which keeps the back axle from completely dropping off the right side there immediately, as well as these two bars over here have been moved up by about 1.5 inches. The drop was a little too severe and the rigs would go end over end. So let's go ahead, power this thing on, and see if we can't do this once and for all. Now, through all those trials, I've found that if you just line this up straight and floor it, you have a pretty good chance of making it all the way to the top on your first run. Which is contradictory to most rock crawling, but it works for this. So we're trying to get that left wheel as high up as we can without dropping it over the left side. Now, when our back right falls down, it's going to drop onto the safety bar. And you can see it is pretty necessary, otherwise we'd pretty much just be cursed to falling into the middle there every time. And the other thing I found is once we get here, you kind of have to go for it. If you hesitate and go slow, the back end almost always falls. So I'm just going to give it some beans and let's see what happens. Whew. Oh man, I don't know if you can see that, but this is just barely hanging on. Let's go ahead and scooch the camera over a bit. We're going to try and drop the front over as gently as possible. And I think this angle is still a bit too steep, so we're going to need to floor it the second the back goes over, and that's it. I'm calling it. Ending the video there. Have a great day, everyone. That was basically a rage quit version of an outro. And if you're wondering why, it's because the cutaway to the SpongeBob timestamp was 100% accurate. This took 3 days of changing one thing and then trying a few times, finding out it didn't work, and then going back and changing the next thing. And of course, there's a lot of things I could have done just overall to make this simpler, but I wanted that accomplishment of defeating our initial build.